Hello, hello. We are doing a very quick but very interesting bit-by-bit leadership conversation with somebody that our audience is very familiar with, Don McGuire, who's the CMO of Qualcomm.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Carolina.
It's day one, so I'm glad we're doing it nice and early instead of at the end of a week.
One.
I know. But it's a very exciting moment for Qualcomm because, somewhat refreshing, you are talking about branding for a product that has already proven and has a strong track record, which is your embedded business.
Right.
And you have launched the new brand, Dragonwing.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, about a year to roll Qualcomm Dragonwing out, and we're so happy that it's finally public. And out here in the wild here at MWC, and we'll continue the rolling thunder into embedded world next week, which is a perfect location and event for the Dragonwing brand. Yeah, I mean, look, we've had some of these products for a while.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, they're kind of proven in their categories, and we have new products that we launched here at the show and announced here at the show, and then we've got some more next week. So we really have been happy about the fact that we've kind of created this umbrella for this whole portfolio that sits sort of outside the Snapdragon brand portfolio. And what we found is that over the years, as we continue to diversify the business, we're launching more and more of these embedded or industrial type products, and they kind of just were homeless from a brand perspective, and not a lot of identity, and from a storytelling perspective, that made it difficult. From a customer understanding of tiering and pricing and capabilities, it was fairly generic, and when you just have numbers and letters, not really easy for someone to kind of wrap their heads around.
Don't I know that?
Right? You know that, right? So we really wanted to address this holistically. It's not just about creating a cool logo, which it is a cool logo.
It is.
Or making this magnificent purple color, but it's about creating an architecture that could resonate with customers, that made it simple and easy for them to understand our value proposition and how it fits into their value proposition. Create a storytelling platform for these products, give them their due, and provide this identity that we can build upon, and then how kind of it all works together, right, within sort of the Qualcomm house of brands.
And I think it's a great timing because obviously from a sensors and embedding perspective, with AI, we're going to have more and more. So to your point, you're also launching new products and you're expanding your portfolio because it's going to matter more going forward.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how you're thinking about your three brands, right? So the mother brand, Qualcomm, and Snapdragon.
Yeah, so Qualcomm, obviously master brand, name of the company, has a lot of great history. This is our 40th birthday this year. And so Qualcomm, has its own sort of deep-rooted sort of meaning and resonance in the world. And the primary audiences for Qualcomm have been and will continue to be investors. Right, they need to understand who we are, our story, what value we bring to our shareholders and to the world. Policymakers and people that are setting, industrial policy, AI policy around the world need to know Qualcomm, who we are, what our role is, why we matter, both in the U.S., whether you're in D.C., whether you're in Brussels, whether you're in Beijing or Delhi. We really need to tell that story because what we don't want is regulation or policy that's been created without understanding how that may benefit or how that may hurt our business.
Absolutely.
And so that's really important. So those are two main audiences for the Qualcomm story, and ecosystems and developers and kind of broad audiences who are all contribute to the goodness of the company. So that's where Qualcomm lives. That's where it will continue to live, and we'll continue to storytell at that level. And then underneath we've got, which used to be just one, but now we have two really distinct product brands. And we talked about this a little bit. The Snapdragon brand portfolio is very, very tightly controlled. It has its product categories, which range from smartphones to spatial computing and cars. And it's really about delivering premium experiences that are mobile first to individuals, to people in devices that are really near and dear to your and my everyday life, whether it's your smartphone, your PC, your car, et cetera. And that's where Snapdragon lives, and that's where we'll continue to live. And it was really important that we didn't dilute that, because we're on this quest to build Snapdragon as a global consumer brand embedded in culture. I mean, it's enough of a challenge in the fact that you can't buy a Snapdragon. And so we're doing it kind of from a step backwards from a consumer product perspective. But we want to make sure it's not diluted. And the premium performance that makes, the Samsung Galaxy S25 so amazing, that story needs to be in those types of products, in the context of those products. It can't be in the context of a smart doorbell, for example, or an industrial camera. And so,
as tempted as it is sometimes, right? Like you have a successful brand, it's like, oh, let me help this, and then
but then it's dilutive, and then you lose your identity and you lose your brand story. And so we wanted to make sure we protect that, and that's my mission. I've got the support of my boss, Cristiano, our CEO, to make sure Snapdragon stays, the value of it as a brand stays strong. And so it will continue to be what it will continue to be. And then we had all these other products. And so the advent of Dragonwing is really about creating a similar sort of affinity as a brand portfolio as Snapdragon has with its audience, but to a completely different audience. Now look, I'm a big believer in, we all market to people at the end of the day. There's a person at the other end of your message, right? But in the case, contextually speaking, when it's Snapdragon, more often than not, we're marketing to an individual who may be in the market to buy a new PC for their personal life, or a new smartphone for their personal use, or some Ray-Ban Meta glasses or something like that. In the context of Dragonwing, it's really about a business decision maker. So they're a person, and they still have emotions, and they still have likes and dislikes, but contextually, they're making a business decision. And they're oftentimes buying for their group or for their company or for their team or whatever it might be. The context is different.
It's different. The process is different. The context is
exactly. So it's really about channel audience, and then channels, go-to-market strategies that are going to be contextually different and relevant to the audience of decision makers versus at scale versus an individual sort of consumer, which historically has been called consumer.
I know.
And so we have to address how we go to market with Dragonwing differently than how we go to market with Snapdragon. But it'll be targeted, it'll be programmatic. It will show up in places like Embedded World, which is a perfect venue for the Dragonwing brand, all the way through to targeted publications that address verticals like manufacturing or energy or retail.
And that's how you build credibility on the back of a brand that is already trusted. So I like, how you're thinking about it, which is why you're a CMO and I'm not. But like that you're starting with Qualcomm and building that trust in the investor world. And then you have Snapdragon for a consumer perspective that then, over time, if I do buy a Ring doorbell that has Dragonwing inside, I can connect the two.
Sure.
But at the same time, to your point, I don't dilute thinking, so if you're trying to be too many things, you stand for nothing, right?
Exactly.
So Snapdragon going everywhere, then it's like, what are you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You risk a dilution and really this generic story, and you become commoditized.
What are you excited about as we're Mobile World Congress to see from a branding perspective, not technology perspective? It's been interesting to see, obviously, AI everywhere.
Sure.
That's the
not
thing. But it's still here. Is there anything that you're looking for with your CMO hat on when you walk around the show?
It's interesting. Yeah, I was walking around the show floor this morning, and it seems like everybody's using the same messaging. Some sort of intelligence. Connected intelligence, intelligent connecting, like intelligently connecting, like it's all about intelligence.
Intelligent networks.
Intelligent networking. The intelligence age, there's a lot of intelligence going on. So a lot of smart people here because there's a lot of intelligence. And then I also, it's interesting. So I think Xiaomi has done a fantastic job.
Yes.
They have the car here, and they have their fans here. And
I saw.
Did you see all
Yes,
their
I
fans?
took a picture that I'll share later.
Crazy. And then all their fans have personalized gear on
Yes.
with their name and the country they're from, which I thought was super cool.
Well, that's an idea
And we have
for
our, you know,
your
18 million plus Snapdragon
Yeah.
insiders.
I was just-
We need to be creating some personalized stuff for them. But yeah, I thought that was really cool.
It's actually funny you mentioned that because I saw them like an hour ago,
Yeah.
and you know the insiders is the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think they've done a fantastic job. And Honor yesterday launched their stuff, and we're so
Alex
happy to.
was on stage.
Alex
I
was on
saw.
stage, and they brought in not only the Snapdragon story, but they brought in the Manchester United
I
Snapdragon
saw
story,
that too.
which I thought was really great as well. So some brand integration from that perspective, I thought was new and refreshing. I think what Xiaomi is doing is also fantastic, bringing their fans into a trade show, like an industry trade show, which is cool. And then yeah, the overuse of the word intelligence.
But we're gonna end on that. But the fact that you mentioned Manchester United on stage at Honor, I thought it was great how it showcased the brand, but with the use case, which was basically photography and bringing back pictures that you've taken as still pictures, and now using technology to bring them back to life. And that to me showed the power of the brand in a context that is very visceral. So it's really bringing consumer who are long-term fans into that world of technology, maybe in a different way.
Yeah, and it's leveraging this great partnership that we have with our front of shirt on the club. So it's been really good.
Awesome. Well, good luck for the rest of the week. Thank you for
too.
sparing the time.
Okay.
And we will see you soon.
All right, thanks, Carolina.
Bye.
Bye.